If you have trouble doing a deep Asian squat or a Hindu squat or Slav squat or primal squat, you probably have two hip muscle groups that are really weak and they make your squat look like trash and feel like trash. In this video, I'm gonna show you the weak hip muscles that are ruining your squat, and I'm gonna show you some simple ways to strengthen those muscles so you can do a deep squat wherever you want. I'm about to take a dump off this fence. The first group of muscles I want you to think about are your, hang on, I gotta take my keys out, are your hip flexors, the muscles in the front of your hip. These muscles are often very tight, but they're also very weak on a lot of people. So yes, you should probably be doing some hip flexor stretches in general, but also you should be strengthening the hip flexors because the hip flexors are the ones that help bring the femur closer to the chest. Maybe I should do some balance exercises while I'm out here. When you're doing a deep squat, your hip flexors have to keep you stable. They keep your torso aligned over your hips in a way that makes you feel balanced. If they're too weak, guess what happens? Well, you're too far back and then you fall backwards. The other group of hip muscles that you probably haven't thought about when trying to improve your deep squat are your adductors, your inner thighs, those groin muscles, those makers of magic that are down between your legs. You and I are about to get a lot more intimate. You'll know you probably have weak inner thigh muscles if when you go to do a deep squat, your knees want to bow out and you feel like you're just gonna fall backwards. Viewed from the side, you'll see that your knees are being pulled way out, maybe even behind your shoulders if they can even get that far before you fall over. When you're going down in the squat, you're just gonna feel like, I'm hitting the stopping point and you just can't get any further. But if you strengthen your inner thigh muscles so that you can pull your knees in, your femurs in during the squat, you're gonna feel a lot more comfortable and smooth and stable, assuming you don't crush your balls. Oh gosh. And hey, before we go any further in this video, I wanna know what brought you here. How did you discover your squat was trash? What brought you to this video? Let me know by dropping me a comment down below. Now let's talk about how you can strengthen your hip flexors and your adductors. First, the hip flexors. You can be sitting down on a chair just like I am right now, and you can just practice lifting your knee up towards your chest. This might look super simple and easy, and it is simple, but it may not be easy for you. You might feel like you're actually quite restricted, like you can only get to around a 90-degree angle between your body and the leg. It's a good thing that guy has a big loud truck, or I wouldn't know how big his penis is. Anyway, you want to be working on making this angle smaller. You're using the muscles on the front of the hip. You'll find if you're really restricted that your leg wants to deviate out to the side, and if that's all you can do right now, that's fine, but keep working on being able to keep the leg straight out in front of you. And when you feel comfortable, you can add a little bit of resistance so your hip flexors have to work harder. You can use your hands or use anything like this handy camera bag I just found on the trail over here a second ago. And you can use that to load it so that these muscles have to work even harder. Now, to strengthen your inner thigh muscles, your adductors, we're gonna change locations and find a place that won't be disturbed by those big trucks again. All right, here's a good bench right here. So you can lie down on the ground or on a bench like this, and you can have the knee bent to start off with and your hip flexed, kind of like you're in a squat, but you're lying on your side. Then you're just gonna work on pulling the leg, the knee, the shin, everything up towards the sky. You wanna feel your inner thigh muscles working. Hold that top position for like 5, 10, 20 seconds if you want a real challenge, and just keep going until you feel some good burn in those inner thigh muscles. You can also experiment with how open this hip angle is right here, so you can have your knee further away and then work on lifting up, holding that, feeling the inner thigh, come back down, and find another one, and just keep exploring. You want to be able to control all of the range of motion. And in case I forgot to mention it earlier, you should be doing this on both sides, whether you're working your hip flexors or your adductors or your hamstrings, whatever you're doing, make sure you're trying to work symmetrically. So I'm lying on my right side now, lifting up. You can see my left leg is just stabilizing me. I can hold on to stuff. If I'm on the ground, I could have a hand on the ground. I can also play around with the rotation of the femur. So I can have external rotation, internal rotation. All of those are good to go and are important to work on so that you feel like you have good control no matter what your femur is doing while it's in hip flexion, and no matter how much hip flexion you're in. Make sure also that you don't cheat with your lower back. A lot of times as you're trying to do some of these exercises that work these sleepy muscles, your low back, your whole pelvis will start doing some tilting and funky stuff, and this is not what you want. You want it to all come from the inner thighs. Seems like a good time for a "that's what she said" joke. And of course, you can load this as well. So if you have an ankle weight, you have a little weight plate, or you just happen to find a camera bag lying in the grass somewhere, you can put it on top of your knee or your thigh here and just work on adducting, bringing the knee towards the sky. What's also nice is as you turn on these inner thigh muscles, you might feel some weird sensations in the outer hip. By turning on these inner thigh muscles, your outer hip muscles can actually relax a little bit more, they can lengthen a little bit more, which then gives you a little more freedom to come down into a deep squat without feeling your knees being pulled out like this. And there's still a couple good options for strengthening your hip flexors and your inner thigh muscles that I want to show you, so let's go. So we're back in my garage and I've got my training band set up on 2 solid anchor points. These are 41-inch long bands. You can use light ones to start and you can use just one to start as well. And if you don't have this, don't worry, I'm also going to show you some options you can use with a cable machine, for example, at the gym. So you just need to attach these to stable anchor points and you're going to just work on your hip flexion like this. So the band is creating resistance for you and you are just gonna pull up. You notice my knee is bent. I don't want my hamstring flexibility to be the limiter because it's generally not really the limiter when I'm doing the squat. I want to mimic the squat pattern. So you can see I'm basically trying to come up like this, get my knee closer to my chest, just like I'm squatting. I can also play around with different angles so that I can control all these different angles and get those hip flexors firing in different configurations, because your hip flexors are not just like one thing that pull in just one straight line. You have glute min, you have TFL, you have the anterior fibers of gluteus medius, you have the short adductor muscles, some of which function as hip flexors. So playing around with different rotations, different levels of abduction, going like this, like that, those can all be super helpful for improving your deep squat. And the idea is pretty similar when you're training your inner thigh muscles. I've got the band right here, and I'm just gonna be pulling in and holding, firing and relaxing. Pulling in, holding, firing and relaxing. I can change the amount of knee bend. I can bring the knee closer to my chest. I can also kind of combine it by going hip flexion and hip adduction. So I'm working both those motions at the same time. How awesome is that? I can also come down to the floor into a squat and just work on pulling in. All of these variations work both sides, see what side is weaker, and do some extra reps or an extra set for that weaker side. But what if you don't have bands at home, but you do have access to a gym? Well, hopefully your gym has some sort of cable machine that allows you to set an anchor point that's super low, and then you can just use one of the attachments. Hopefully they have one that's wide enough like this to just fit right around your knee here. And then you can work on both hip flexion and hip adduction. And heck, you can work on all the other hip motions too. But first, let's show you hip flexion. So you're gonna be on hands and knees, and then you're just gonna be pulling that knee up towards your chest. It might look a little bit like a squat because it kind of is. You can also play around with the angle like I've mentioned. You can be out a little bit more. You can be in the middle range. You could be directly under your belly button. Just play around, see what feels weak, see what feels challenging, and just focus on feeling the muscles all around the front of the hip. For me personally, being more abducted really highlights some of the weakness in the side and front of my hip. And then for adduction, this is probably not the right angle. For adduction, it's basically the same setup, but you stay facing this way and you're gonna be on your feet. The support leg, the one further from the actual cable machine, I suggest you have the heel up. It's probably gonna be more comfortable and more supportive. If you need something to hold on to help you feel more stable, absolutely use it. Really focus on strengthening these muscles. You can do a little adduction and internal rotation. That is gonna be unbelievably helpful. Internal rotation, by the way, super important for your deep squat. Anyway, you're gonna be going into adduction, really pulling in, focusing on maintaining a stable spine and pelvis. Remember what I said earlier about rocking in your spine. Don't let that happen. Focus on the hip muscles doing all the work. Keep the abs at the same level of engagement the whole time, and don't let your body try to cheat out of using the inner thigh muscles. Play with different angles. You can rotate a little bit and then find those little spots that just don't feel like they know how to fire, where your body just tries to recruit something else, like in your back or somewhere else in your hip or in your ab. Just make sure you feel the right stuff firing. So go slow and controlled. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, that feels real good right there. No matter which exercises you choose to do, remember not to overdo. Remember that slow is safe and fast is foolish. So when you begin, maybe do it on a Monday and a Thursday or a Tuesday and a Saturday. Do a couple sets, do them to fatigue, maybe an extra set for the weaker side, and then allow yourself ample rest, because I don't want you to cripple yourself with soreness. As you get more familiar with these exercises and their effects on your weak hip muscles, you can do them maybe 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week, but please don't try to overdo it so that you can't walk anymore. A little bit goes a long way, and make sure you gradually increase the load that you're using to get more of a training effect that builds strength in your hip flexors and inner thighs. All right, so now you've got some good options for strengthening your hip flexors and your inner thigh muscles so that you can do a nice deep squat whenever and wherever you want. Let me know how these exercises work for you by dropping me a comment down below. And if you would like a program to help you reprogram your hips and rebuild them, check out the Healthy Hips program at uprighthealth.com/DIY. And if you'd like all of my deep Asian squat videos that I've got on YouTube organized in a more easy to follow structure, you can also check out the Asian squat program, which you'll also find at uprighthealth.com/DIY. And if you want to support this channel, go to uprighthealth.com/donate, or just go to /DIY like I told you before and get a program that'll help you rebuild your body, and it'll help me make more videos like this. I've also got some free videos that you might find super helpful. I will put them right here, and the Asian squat playlist, which will be down in the description box. I will drop you that link. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember that pain sucks. Life shouldn't.